So the engine looks a little bit different than the last time you saw it. We have the plastic timing belt cover on, as well as the harmonic balancer. That's not something that I really wanted to film, or I actually tried, but the footage was just so goddamn boring, so we just went ahead and did that. Most of the day was spent trying to restore the plastic to its original luster. So what we ended up doing is using this clear lacquer, and it looks great. So one other thing that we did is you'll notice there's a difference between this bolt and these. So the bolts of these that were originally on the engine, they had a, what was it, like a coating or something?
It's a plating. Basically.
Oh, it's a plating.
But it's a zinc plating. And zinc platings come in different colors. You can get them in a gold wash.
Okay.
Or you can get them in the zinc color.
Right.
Clear. They call that a clear.
Anyway, so the old bolts were gold, and then Felix got some brand new ones that are silver that go much better with the polished manifold. So not much to show you in terms of like how to reinstall these parts. It's pretty self-explanatory. Crankshaft pulley bolts, 174 pound-feet. And then the bolts for the plastic timing belt cover, 9 pound-feet. All around. And yeah, that'll get you up to speed to where we are currently. Now we're gonna move on to the intake manifold.
I'm just heating it up a little bit.
Are they all not straight?
Just these two look like it.
Oh.
And I use one of these soft,
Like brass
yeah.
hammers?
So it beats itself up more than the
Right.
actual piece. Try that.
And this is just a normal result of taking it to the machine shop, right?
Well, yeah, because they surface
studs.
the block, they surface the heads, so the angle changes a little bit on you sometimes.
Right. Okay, so new hiccup. Part of the thermostat housing. This is the thermostat right here. So this part of the housing has some corrosion.
So that spot's a little lower than this surface here. And you can see it kind of pitted right here. So what I'm going to do is try to sand this part flat on a hard surface and see if I can remove some material and try to get that a little bit closer. See if it'll erase.
So it's not so porous.
Yeah, I mean, there's an O-ring that seals it, but we want to, help it. Okay, so a little bit WD-40. It just helps it glide a little bit better. It's still going to be rough. This is sticking out, so I got to go on the edge here.
Oh. It's too deep, huh?
Yeah. I'll keep going. I mean, it's still tall enough. Let's see how far we can get.
Good. I like that.
This one's a lot better. That one at least is kind of touching already.
Right.
And I think we'll stop there because we're going to get to...
Run out of material.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're sanding it, so
Right.
we're taking a little at a time, so it's not like aggressive, but
Right.
I think that's good for the O-ring and then
I agree.
seal, and it's more flat now. So
Awesome.
Okay.
When parts are scarce, you have to get creative. Okay, so we're gonna do the other thermostat housing.
this is not bad.
No,
But
not at all.
I just want to true it up, and
Right.
it has some little shadows.
Cool.
On this one, I had to go hang out on the edge of the table there because this sticks out. So I was going like that, but
So now you do a figure eight?
normally, if you don't have that situation, I always try to do a figure eight instead of going straight like this,
Right.
because you have a tendency to maybe put a little bit too much here
Right.
to here when you're just going straight.
Right.
So if you do a figure eight, it kind of eliminates the possibility of you influencing,
Right.
and then you can flip it around onto the other side. Yeah, that's good enough.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So we know
That
it's
looks
true.
great. Yeah.
We know it's true and flat, and
Looks good.
Doesn't take too long. So I'll go clean these up.
Perfect. So welcome to my cooking channel. I'm going to show you how to make an intake manifold sandwich. This is the top part that you've seen already. This is the polished part of the manifold. So then it's just a layer of gasket, manifold, gasket, and manifold. Yum! Now we just need our bolts.
No mayonnaise?
My main thing right now, my main task is figuring out where each bolt goes because there are 3 different lengths. So the footage you're seeing right now is me slowly coming to the realization that something is amiss, and that thing is we are missing the studs on the top part of the intake manifold. And also too, you can save yourself the time and the headache by like being diligent about labeling your hardware so there's no guessing when it comes time to reassemble. Also, a long time had elapsed between disassembly and reassembly, so that was working against us too. Okay, so we made a boo-boo. We forgot the studs that go on the top of the intake manifold, and they feed through the different layers of the sandwich, and then you put a nut on the end to attach it. You can see them in this exploded view right here. You can see a stud going down and through the sandwich, and then a nut at the end. And we had taken these off before taking this piece to go get polished.
Because I saw yours, I can only see this side and one here. And then this one is showing the curved part of the intake, right?
Right, so it's hidden?
Yep, so it is.
So it's caddy corner?
Yep,
okay.
It is.
There's another intake of mine over there that Felix looked at. So under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have a need to remove these studs, but we're going to show you how to put them back anyway in case you do. We're getting 2 nuts and we're putting them side by side on one side and kind of making a jam nut so he has something to clamp down on and drive it into the intake manifold.
Just about anywhere, and it'll weigh very much. Lizards. So why all the cardboard? Well, those of you who've been watching trucks for a long time, you might remember the '67 Chevy pickup Project Copperhead. Well, I painted that truck.
You can use oil or whatever. I just use a little bit of NSCs.
It's going to end up being a really fast and great looking street truck, but it's also something we're going to be able to take to the racetrack. And despite the really wide rear tires, I'm not talking about the drag strip either. We're talking about an autocross or a road course, somewhere we can really stretch the legs of this pickup truck and get into some triple-digit speeds legally. We want to be able to test the power, so that's one of the projects we're going to be working on today. The other project we're going to do today is deal with the byproduct of all of that power, heat. And I don't know about you, but riding around...
All right, now back to square one. We were making it much harder than it needed to be because with the studs in place, I mean, that helps guide the the gaskets and the other parts of the intake manifold. Amazing. Yeah, see, okay.
So,
Shorter.
is this the same as this one? Oh,
don't
it's
know.
different, yeah. So, I would use this one. That one would make more sense.
Okay, let's see.
So, yeah, we wait before we torque that. So, let's turn it over.
This one really quick.
We'll check that back part.
Yeah. Here, get your gasket. Oh my God, there's gasket on this. Okay, cut.
I'm trying to get in there.
I was
It's all like all over the
wondering
place.
what is going on over there.
Just cleaning like this piece. Because the
Oh,
O-ring
okay.
goes in here. We're going to need this piece and that
Right,
piece.
right. Damn,
So
that
I
looks
think we
great.
got the O-rings for here. I don't want it to rust because you won't see it after a while after it gets put in there.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on just so we don't forget about it. Make sure you got your gasket, surfaces are clean. These bolts are already oiled, so I'm just going to go ahead and thread them in. The service manual says torque spec for these is 9 pound-feet, or if you do the conversion, because I have a torque wrench here in inch pounds, and 9 foot-pounds is 108 inch-pounds. Torqued and ready to go. Torque spec for these, according to the service manual, is 16 foot-pounds. Comes to 192 inch-pounds.
Okay, that's all of them.
Next up, so we're gonna, this part's a little tricky because this needs to be here, and then that back part of the throttle body needs to go in front of it, but it needs to be a certain angle for it to work. There we go. Okay, but underneath all this, you have to put your gasket, so let's do that. There we go. Why don't you hold that there, and then I'll slip this in. Okay.
And then this piece just kind of lives like this.
Yeah, that just, I mean, once we attach everything, it'll
find its place.
Right. So once your intake manifold sandwich is complete and ready to be dropped onto the engine, there's a few things you want to keep in mind for this area that you do not want to forget. First thing being the gaskets right here. There's 2 on each bank. Same goes for NOx sensors. There's 1 on, or I said 2 on each bank. I meant 1 on each bank. NOx sensors, there's 1 on each bank. And then you have a coolant pipe that runs underneath everything. And this is attached via 2 bolts that I'm going to oil and screw in. And last thing, the pigtails for the NOx sensors. You don't want to leave those unplugged. I think that's everything right now. Alright. Next up is the thermostat housing. If you remember, this is the piece that was corroded, but Felix pretty much took care of that.
So that guy goes
like,
so you'll have to stick that into that tube.
oh right.
Yeah, like that. That's why I told you to
Oh,
leave.
make sure the O-ring is on the end of the coolant pipe before you put the housing on.
Because these are still loose, right?
No.
Yeah, they're loose, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't torqued them. But they're
Yeah, I
gonna
wanted to
torque.
leave them loose so that way
Right.
you can get that guy in there.
Smart.
So it won't hang up the rear.
Okay.
So go ahead. There's one there.
So it's anti-seize that's
Just
on here?
anti-seize, yeah.
Okay.
Because it being water and all.
Right, right.
I'll get you those.
What did I say? I think it was 192. 192 inch-pounds.
So that way this is stationary.
Yeah.
And this won't hang up in the rear. So now we can tighten these and torque them.
Perfect. So for the coolant pipe, the 2 bolts, we're going with 108 inch-pounds is the spec.
Right.
Now we just got to figure out which way the pigtail goes for the NOx sensors, right?
The other thing too is when we drop the intake, we got to put that little sleeve I painted.
I don't know what this is called. It's a sleeve with 2 O-rings. Don't forget your O-rings. I don't have a part number for these. I bought these. They were in a bag that wasn't from Honda, so just, I don't know, just play around and see.
Match the
Yeah,
O-rings.
match the size. And then you put some silicone grease on these O-rings.
Just so, yeah.
All right. And it goes right there.
Yep. Wiggle around and kind of.
There we go.
There you go.
On the back of the housing.
I think these tabs are to
Oh,
limit
right.
it you know, from it
Makes
going
sense.
too far down.
Right.
So that's what that's for.
Okay.
Then once we place the intake, that'll meet on the underside of it.
I have some homework to do.
Okay.
I need to find the EGR pipe, which goes in the back, but I'll show you guys that another time. But the main holdup here was just trying to figure out why there's plastic bits here and what is connected to this coolant pipe. Turns out there is a knock sensor sub-wire holder that I assume was broken at one point in this engine's life, because this, you can see part of it still right here. So I'm going to look on my other engines and see if I have one that I could use for mine, or see if there's a random Acura dealership that still has one in stock. So for now, we're going to call it good, and I'm going to look for those two things. And yeah, hope this video was helpful.
Okay. Like that. Oh.